Thank you for that kind introduction. My name is Moin Hussaini. I'm the Chief Product Officer for Accurkardia. Accurkardia is an early stage company that is focused on developing ECG-based diagnostics. Our first product that has gotten FDA clearance is Accurecg, which is a software platform for automated ECG interpretation for cardiac monitoring. So think of Holter monitors, mobile cardiac telemetry, even smartwatches that gather ECG data. We aim to be the operating system to take that data and diagnose arrhythmias from those devices. However, in the process of developing Accurecg, we've developed an expertise in leveraging AI for the interpretation of ECG. And so not only can we automate the interpretation of ECG for arrhythmia detection, but we can expand the application of ECG to other novel use cases and make it a biomarker for other conditions. And we've developed a portfolio of algorithms to detect not only arrhythmias, but structural heart conditions, heart failure, cardiomyopathies, and electrolyte dysfunctions. And I'm here to talk about how our technology can be leveraged for the detection of aortic stenosis or beachhead application. So what was our goal? With aortic stenosis, it is a highly mortal disease. In cases of severe aortic stenosis, patients, as many as 50% of patients can die within a year. So it's highly mortal. It's very, very costly in terms of the life loss, as well as heart failure related hospitalizations associated with having the condition. It's highly underdiagnosed. About 50% of cases go completely undiagnosed until postmortem. But there's really, really good therapies that are life-saving. And so we thought that if we could better diagnose this condition through the use of ECG, we would get more patients to therapy and save more lives. And that's our goal. So the evidence is clear that earlier treatment for aortic stenosis is critical to good outcomes. And there have been a number of studies showing that earlier surgical treatment of aortic stenosis patients in asymptomatic aortic stenosis patients led to significantly better outcomes. And that was proved in 2 trials here that are outlined showing both near-term and long-term outcomes in terms of major adverse cardiovascular events as well as mortality. So treating earlier is really important. And then also just this past October, there was a large study that was a landmark study showing that earlier treatment of asymptomatic aortic stenosis with patients with TAVR led to significantly better outcomes. So the evidence is really clear that treating patients earlier is super important to outcomes. However, those patients aren't being diagnosed and referred to therapy early enough. And why is that? The reason for that is multifactorial, multifold. There is low patient awareness amongst the population for the disease. It's a disease of aging. It occurs in the elderly population. And some of the symptoms are very nonspecific. It's shortness of breath. Sometimes these patients don't exercise themselves enough to realize that they have diminished capacity, and so forth. Sometimes they have other issues that they're addressed to their primary care physicians, and so the symptoms of aortic stenosis sometimes go unrecognized in primary care. In primary care, the skill level of primary care physicians for detecting aortic stenosis through auscultation varies. So some physicians are very good at it, others are not. And then this environment of pressured primary care, shortened visits, 8 to 15-minute visits, where the patient can come in and talk about psychiatric issues to joint pain to cardiac conditions. There's a lot of ground to cover, and it's easy to miss a fairly low prevalence condition like aortic stenosis. On the other end, if the patient is detected, there's limited access to echocardiography. And almost half of communities in the United States, there isn't a cardiologist available. And so that just is a sign of the availability of the patient to get echocardiography, which is necessary for definitive diagnosis. And last but not least, there is a lack of systematic screening programs. And as a result of all these factors, up to 50% of cases go unnoticed and the patients pass away from it. So what do we propose to do? We propose to be that screening program. On one end, there is auscultation, an old technology that has been in use for a very long time. And then on the opposite end is advanced imaging like echocardiography, but there's nothing in between to capture those patients that might have been missed on the auscultation side. And there's nothing to help move them along if they've been missed to echocardiography for definitive diagnosis. And so as a result, there are a number of different approaches being chased to try and address this underdiagnosis problem. One is digitizing stethoscopes to help improve the quality of auscultation and catch murmurs in the primary care setting. On the other end is applying AI to echocardiography to make sure that when the patient gets into echo, they catch the condition there. What we propose is somewhat different from that and has some unique benefits. What we propose to do is take the millions and millions of ECGs that are sitting latent in hospital system databases, in EHRs, and for EKGs that have been acquired as part of routine care, mine those for undiagnosed cases of aortic stenosis. Why does that have a benefit? Number one, it's screening massive number of patients all at once in big steps, and you can find a lot of patients with one quick sweep. There's concentrated deployment at a hospital system level. Instead of having to deploy physician by physician or provider by provider, we can deploy at hospital system levels, which simplifies the deployment. Thirdly, there's very little capital investment required, and there's minimal, in fact, no disruption to the workflow at the point of care. We find these patients in the system, flag them, and then get them referred for further evaluation. So we've developed the algorithm using a very high quality database, which I've heard from a number of speakers, the importance of using high quality databases to train AI models. We validated our models on the Mayo Clinic platform on well over 100,000 patients, but for our intended population on over 35,000 patients. But that's a very privileged population. It skews wealthier and fairly white. And so then in our subsequent validations, we went outside of the Mayo Clinic and leveraged the ERIC database, which is an NIH population health study. And it's the largest population health study of African American heart health in the United States. And we reproduced our results on a different demographic outside of the Mayo Clinic health system and got great results there. And then we did a subsequent validation at another hospital in the southwest of the United States. And so we've gotten a really good confidence around the reproducibility of the results in a variety of different contexts. And so now we feel very confident in the performance of the device, of the technology for detecting the condition. And to put it into perspective, let's look at other standard of care tests currently available that are used on a daily basis for detecting a variety of diseases. And our aortic stenosis detection model compares very well both from a sensitivity and specificity standpoint. My charts here got a little bit some lost in translation here, but the long and the short of it is we weren't just content to say that we perform just as well as other standard of care tests. We wanted to understand what happened to the false positives that our model produced. And we did a subgroup analysis on our validation data set that we did with ERIC. And because it was a population health study, we wanted to see what happened to those patients that had quote unquote false positive flags. And it turned out that those patients actually were 5 times more likely to develop aortic stenosis in the future. So the AI, not only could it see something that the human eye couldn't see in detecting aortic stenosis through ECG, it could detect the future risk for the condition. It could detect the subtle changes in the heart that precede onset of the disease or could find preclinical disease. And so we're just now tapping into the power of using AI applied to ECG, not only for diagnosing the condition, but also detecting the future onset. So this was really, really exciting to us, and we're in the process of looking at other prognostic factors. So can the ECG tell us which patients will benefit the best from intervention? How are patients doing post-intervention? How is the disease progressing over time, and so forth. But coming back to application, currently, right now, the population base that's getting treatment or referral to therapy are those that receive echo. And if you consider the Medicare population, there are about 10 million patients a year that get screened or that receive echocardiography. If you could expand the population to those that get ECG, about 2.5 to 3 times as many patients on the conservative side get EKGs versus echoes. If you were able to leverage ECG, you could find as many as 4 times as many patients and refer them on to therapy sooner. We've had a tremendous amount of success developing and bringing this technology to market. And another aspect of it, artificial intelligence, is the rapid pace of innovation. We trained our models in April of this year on this particular application, did validation on well over 100,000 patients at multiple sites. We got FDA early breakthrough designation, and we're beginning a prospective clinical trial. That's less than 1 year. And that's the new piece of innovation leveraging AI that's going to come forth. And we're going to repeat this model with other disease applications like hyperkalemia, cardiac amyloidosis, heart failure, and more. So anyhow, I want to conclude my talk here and look forward to connecting with you after the sessions here, and hope to partner with any of you who are interested in this particular application. Thank you.